She thought he was joking. There were more dragons in the prey center than she'd expected. All the sea wings were back, along with all the sky wings, a few ice wings, and a couple of night wings. It was easier now to use the raindrop trick, though. She slipped them all quickly into background pitter-pattering, and her oncoming headache faded away again. Then she spotted Umber, Marsh, and Sora across the cave and felt her wings lift. For one thing, Sora must be feeling better if they'd let her come down here, and for another thing, Umber and Sora didn't completely hate her yet. They would probably let her sit with them to eat anyway, which would be better than trying to sit with that ferocious expression Mighty Claws was wearing. As she moved toward the siblings, she caught a glimpse of Kibble watching her. He was wondering whether he should warn the Mudwings about her mind reading, especially Umber. So I'd better enjoy them now, she thought ruefully, since they won't be my friends for much longer. Hey, Umber said as she approached. Sora and Marsh both kind of flinched and nodded at the same time. Hi, Moon said softly. Sora, how are you? Are you all right? Nothing is all right. Nothing, she caught from Sora's brain. There were fragments of terror and memories of battles and fire jolting through the mud pool in Sora's mind, and she could tell Sora really would have preferred to be tranquilized again, but she'd forced herself to come down here. Icicle, Moon heard, and guessed that Sora wanted to prove herself to be tougher than her clawmate thought she was. She slid the rest of Sora's restless thoughts into a raindrop, conscious of Kibble's eyes on her back and feeling like an intruder in Sora's fear. She did the same with Marsh and Umber, although Marsh was mostly surveying the cave and nervously wondering what to eat, while Umber was preoccupied with worrying about his brother and sister. She's doing better, Umber answered for Sora. Clay said she even got up and went for a walk for a little while last night. Really? Moon said, looking at her. Why would she wander around the mountain in the middle of the night? She wondered for a split second whether Sora could be the dragon who'd been scheming with Scarlet, but then she remembered the first night she'd heard the Dream Visitor conversation. Sora had been one of the few dragons still awake at that hour. Moon definitely remembered noticing her mental mud ritual. She hadn't been asleep and dreaming, so she couldn't have been the one talking to Scarlet. Sora glanced anxiously around the cave. Following her gaze, Moon saw Winter and Icicle stalking in from one of the tunnels. She felt like bolting, but she made herself stay put as Winter rapidly scanned the cave and spotted her. His eyes narrowed, and he thought, only half a day left, Nightwing. She ducked her head. What was she going to tell him at midnight? She couldn't point to anyone as the culprit yet. Icicle snatched a fish from the central pile and stormed toward her usual ledge. Winter picked up a fish too, but hesitated. Moon could hear him debating whether to come over and talk to her. Please don't, please don't, please don't, she prayed. Do you want to go talk to Icicle? Umber asked Sora, who was still staring at her clawmate. I'm sure she's been worried about you. Sora didn't answer, but a flash of contemptuous disbelief broke through Moon's raindrops, so sharp and fierce that it took her a moment to realize it had come from the quiet Mudwing. She turned and saw Icicle climbing into the alcove. With a disdainful flick of her wings, Icicle turned to look down at the crowd. One of her wings lightly brushed the stalactites over her head. There was a loud crack, then a splintering sound, and suddenly, the sharpest, most wicked-looking stalactite broke off from the ceiling and plummeted down toward Icicle. Chapter 21. Moon shrieked. Sure, the rock spear would impale the Icewing through the head or neck. The raindrops all vanished in a scream of terror from everyone in the cave. Then she'll be dead, 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 sang one voice in the rising tumult in Moon's head. But Icicle twisted out of the way at the last moment, and the stalactite shattered against the ground. There was a frozen minute of shock. Oh, that's interesting, Darkstalker mused. In most of the futures I saw, that worked, and she died. This changes many things. Moon didn't have time to respond to that. The whole cave had erupted in chaos. Icicle! Winter shouted. He spread his wings and sprang toward her, fighting past the dragons who were all stampeding the other way. Icicle was staring at the spot where it had fallen, her heart pounding. Even above everyone else, Moon could hear her fury and disbelief. "Who dared attack me?" Still reeling, Moon turned and found that Umber, Marsh, and Sora had fled with most of the other dragons. A few moments later, no one was left in the prey center except the two Ice Wings, Kibble, Moon, and Clay, who had also rushed to Icicle's side. "By all the moons!" Clay cried. "How did that happen? Are you all right?" "No!" Icicle roared, lashing her tail. "Someone tried to kill me!" "The niece of Queen Glacier," Kibble thought, and then reprimanded himself. "Not the time, Kibble." "What?" Clay looked up at the other stalactites in the alcove. "But, no, surely that was an accident. How and who—" "That was no accident," Winter said, pointing grimly at the spot where the fallen stalactite had hung. Claw marks were clearly visible in the rock, as if someone had scraped painstakingly through the spire until it had been barely suspended, ready to fall at the lightest touch. "But who?" Clay said again, searching his brain. "She's unfriendly, but not bad enough to kill." "I'll tell you what else," Icicle spat. "That bomb yesterday was probably meant for me, too. I'm the target. Someone was trying to kill me. And I'm going to find whoever it is and turn them into a glittering ice statue, which I will then beat to smithereens with my tail." Icicle was the target all along? Kibble and Moon exchanged looks. If she was right, what did that mean? Kibble's brain was rapidly organizing the students into possible categories of Ice Wing enemies, but Moon had an awful, awful sinking feeling that she already knew who this pointed to. "You can't do that, and that's impossible anyway," Clay said again. "No one could have known who'd be in the cave when the cactus exploded. We think it was set to happen before class started, so there was no guarantee that you'd be in there then. If it was an assassination attempt against you, wouldn't they have made sure you were there?" "I was supposed to be," Icicle hissed. "I'd planned to go early because I needed one of the scrolls. Just by luck, I decided to go by the underground lake first. Otherwise, I would have been in the history cave, and I would now be dead." "So who knew that?" Winter asked. "That would narrow it down. Did you tell anyone you were planning to go early?" Icicle snapped her jaw shut and stared at him and Clay, her pale blue eyes glittering. "Only one dragon," she thought. "I only told one dragon that. So I know exactly who to kill." A freezing shiver rattled down Moon's spine. Sora. Moon turned and bolted out of the cave. "I have to find her first." She didn't know exactly what she was going to do, but she had very clearly seen what Icicle planned for her clawmate, and Moon knew she couldn't let that happen. Even though Sora killed Carnelian and Bigtail, even though she could have killed any of us, didn't she care? What about Umber? She must have delayed him. She would never hurt him. "Sora, where are you?" Moon raced through the tunnels, checking the library first. Starflight was in there, alone. He lifted his head, startled as she sprinted through, but she didn't stop. She didn't have time to explain or ask for help. She knew Icicle would be on Sora's trail any second. In the great hall, she stopped to catch her breath and reached out with her mind. The music cave. The underground lake? The art cave? What was Sora thinking about? An image of Tamarin came through. Sora had gone back to the infirmary. Moon whirled and dashed toward that corridor. At the mouth of the tunnel, she collided hard with a small brown dragon, and for a confused moment, she thought she'd found Sora already. "You're not safe," she started to gasp, and then realized it wasn't Sora. It was Umber. "I'm not? What?" he said. "Sorry, not you. I have to—" She stepped around him. "Wait," Umber said. "What's wrong?" "Moon, you have to tell him." Moon turned and saw Kibble hurrying across the great hall. He'd seen her run. He knew that she'd figured it out, and one of the 3 guesses in his head was even right. But if I tell Umber what his sister did, it'll destroy him, she thought, if he even believes me. If Kibble hadn't been there, she would have kept running. She would have dealt with Sora herself. In his mind, though, she found a lightning-fast list of reasons to tell Umber that she would never have thought of herself. He wasn't consciously sending them to her, but they were all there on the surface as he struggled with what to do. He may not understand, but he'll want to protect her. He can do that better than you can. You need someone to help you if you're planning to stand in Icicle's way. He needs to know the truth about her, the way you'd want to know if someone in your family did this. He's good and loyal. He's the only one who can help her. And if Sora is still dangerous, he may also be the only one who can stop her. Moon met Kibley's eyes. He was right about all of that. Umber, she said, I'm sorry. I have to tell you something awful. Oh no, Umber said. His face twisted, and it was almost like his heart spoke rather than his mind. Sora, Marsh, Clay. We know who set the bomb yesterday, Kibley said. And she just tried to kill Icicle, Moon said. Umber took a step back, shaking his head. No, it's not true. But he saw the pieces falling into place and knew it was. Pheasant thought this would be too much for her, but I thought she was stronger than this. I thought we were all better now. It was Sora,